So it is Good Friday, and I am stuck in house because I hurt my eye earlier this week and still have a light sensitivity, which means I have to hurry up and finish this reflection because I can only put up with the lights being on for so long. I think my eye's already doing a little bit of this. Um, and it's actually having hurt my eye this week that led me to this reflection because I was in bed for 2 days, um, able to do literally nothing but pray and meditate and sleep and heal. So I had a lot of thinking time for about 48 hours. And it led me a lot to think about this season of Lent and also the importance of perseverance, of recognizing not just what we gain at the end of perseverance, but what we gain out of the journey for having persevered, for having persevered to be present in our journey rather than persevering to hurry up and get to the end so we don't have to get to it anymore. So, I scratched a third of my cornea on Tuesday, and while I was meditating and praying for those 2 days, kind of went through this. I was excited at the end of December because I had figured out, okay, I know what my focuses are, my foci, if we want to be grammatically correct, for the next year, and I'm so excited, and we're going to do this. And then hit January and literally ran into one illness after another. For the record, part of this journey that y'all taking with me is going to be me detangling my hair that hasn't been detangled for 2 months. So come on with me. So got to January, got all this stuff lined up, and literally hit one illness after another. Bout of exhaustion, a dog bite, food poisoning. What else happened? An asthma attack. I thought it was a respiratory infection. It was an asthma attack that was showing up really funny because even though everything had bloomed, the weather kept fluctuating. I was having chest pains and like running random fevers. So I thought I had a respiratory infection. It was an asthma attack. And then acid reflux, which I've had a lot of GI problems in my life, never had acid reflux. And it was stuff that actually kept landing me back in bed or putting me further back on the timelines I had created to get stuff done. And it took me to the point that I was like, I ended up writing on my whiteboard, if if getting sick slows you down, will you let that out and out stop you? Because I would say 6 months ago, even 2 months ago, this is the type of stuff where I was like, I feel so undercut by this, and these things aren't that important, so I'm just going to let them go and let them pass. And having set in December, no, these things that I'm working on are what God wants me to do and focus on with my life. You can't just quit. Also, two of them are my jobs. So I can't just be like, boss, I'm really sorry. Like, I just felt so demoralized by these things that keep happening. I just quit. I'm not going to do the things. And they're like, because we're okay, well, we just can't pay you if you're not going to show up and do your job. And my jobs are actually important to me because I love the places that I work for and I love the people that I work for. So I wouldn't want to do that. That's really that I wouldn't want to leave them without support. So I determined pretty early on we are going to persevere. We're going to push through. Like, I don't know what this is. On this end of it, I'm like, okay, I would categorize this as a spiritual attack. Some people would say it's a test. I don't think God tests us like this. I'm not sure if God tests us at all. I don't believe God makes bad things happen to us so we can learn a lesson. I think things happen And then God says, okay, how do we create something positive out of what happened? You can see this as something that just knocks you down, or you can use it as a challenge and it's a weight we're going to lift that's going to build us and make us stronger. So I defer to the latter. Because life happens, good stuff happens, not so good stuff happens. We gotta take both of it, and it's really a matter what we do with it. That's the perseverance. So have just been kind of dealing with stuff and like letting it come. Most of my posts this year, I think, have been pretty positive, and I mean the positive stuff. I literally, like, the sicknesses were coming, and I'm like, this is unfortunate, and I guess I'm gonna have to take the couple days that it takes to heal and then get back. And that's that. And the first couple times I panicked. I was like, we had a schedule. And it was like, that's not your schedule. No more. The end. So and everything's worked out. That was that was the real everything worked out just fine. I had a deadline, and then it turned out the deadline wasn't the deadline anymore, and everything was fine. As long as I went with God. And I'm thinking about this in relationship to Lent and Good Friday and Easter, because Easter's on Sunday and today's Good Friday, and people are already like, but it's okay because on Sunday he is risen. And it's like, yeah, but he had to go through some stuff before he rose. And that matters, because it matters to me that I do believe that Christ knew what he was going to suffer. He knew when he was out doing his ministry, like, I'm going to tell people stuff and people aren't going to believe me and they're going to keep doing what they were doing. And he did it anyway. And he knew he was going to be arrested and what was going to happen to him. And I mean, that was his whole prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, right? Lord, if this is not your will, please take this cup from me. But the whole reason, if he's praying, it's like he has a choice. And he's like, I'm doing this because it's your will, and I've committed to doing your will. But he had a choice. And I have every faith that Christ knew that we were going to act a fool as human beings, regardless of what he did, regardless of how he died. And he was like, I'm going to do it anyway because I believe in God, and I believe in this, and I believe in humanity. And I believe, like Martin Luther King Jr. said, that the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice and love and goodness. So he allowed himself, after he had ministered and prepared us as disciples, he allowed himself to be arrested and to be shamed and to be humiliated, and then to go through, like, to be beaten and to be crucified. And like, I don't think it was a secret at that time, right? That was going to be the penalty if he was arrested as an enemy of the state, that he's going to be crucified. I don't think he was confused about what was going to happen to him, and he was like, I'm going to do it. So it bothers me when we try and skip over Lent, which to me is like his whole ministry. It was the whole preparation, like it's the whole life that he lived, the whole ministry that he preached, in which he prepared other people. And then Good Friday, which is the moment of suffering. Like, is he going to stand on what he believes? If this is what it takes for whatever reason, it seemed to take his being arrested and persecuted and killed. And was he going to stand on what he believed, or was he going to run away? Was he going to persevere even through this, to get to resurrection, to get to that great transformation that we believe in as Christians? And I want us to just think more about the season of Lent and not about rushing to Easter and not rushing to resurrection, because the joy of resurrection, I don't even think, both for Christ and in our own lives, I don't think it's even possible to understand if we don't have the reality of the full journey that we've been through. I've done some really awesome stuff this year, which is why my posts have been so positive and why when I was getting sick, I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm busy doing awesome things. And um, that sickness was real and there in the background. And then the 2 days that I was laid up in bed, some of the things that I had to recognize was I had I made this daily guide for discernment that my entire schedule is built around me taking breaks throughout the day to do examine and discernment throughout the day. And what I hadn't had really was time to process any of it yet. And I had plenty of time to do that. And the things that came up for me were like, what, who did I immediately want to call when I'm sitting in the hospital and like pretty much literally can't see, with my, who did I want to call and who did I want to reach out to and who did I want to connect with and be comforted by, and why are those not the people that I'm giving so much of my time to? And when I thought of the things that I wasn't going to be able to do that was on my calendar for the next few days, and the things that I was like, oh, that's sad. I really wanted to do that. And the things that I was like, meh. And which of those things were actually listed as priorities and which were kind of in the background. And it really made me, I had been thinking for a couple months. I feel like the way that I've set my calendar up is not what it's supposed to look like. And it was really funny because my friend Courtney in her dissertation defense a couple weeks ago had mentioned that when Jesus curses the fig tree, it already didn't bear fruit, but it took the life of the tree for it to even be known that it didn't bear fruit. And so we think that we should just know things right out. And sometimes we have to sit with them for a while and let them play out to understand what they are and are not actually doing for us. And if I hadn't been willing to be present in that journey, and if I hadn't taken the opportunity of those sicknesses, and then like the of like I would start on something and then get stopped, and I would start on something and then get stopped. And if I hadn't taken the journey to actually process what was happening, I would probably just be like, I'm trying to do these things and things keep getting in my way. And yeah, I do think things keep getting in the way, or at least trying to stop me. They're slowing me down. They're not stopping me. And what would really stop me is if I was charging full steam ahead and not paying any attention to the signs and signals that I'm getting out of my own life, which is what Lent is for. It is supposed to be an intentional slowing down and paying attention to a specific aspect of our life, um, so that we're practicing paying attention to how it gives us life or how it's maybe taking life from us. And it's a specific practice that we do for 40 days so we consider how we're living for the rest of the year. So when we try and rush to resurrection, we miss that entire journey. We miss Christ's ministry. We miss that for whatever reason it was. I don't know what pain he did or didn't feel. Um, I do sense the reality of his prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane, and that was suffering for him. Lord, I don't want to go through this, but I'm going to go through it. If you tell me that there's something more powerful on the other side, I'm going to do it anyway. And we miss that when we try and rush to the happy part. And we can be happy, but we don't get to joy. We don't get to the joyful part. So it was really funny because I celebrated the launch of Lent this year and hadn't actually set a goal for it. And like hadn't set like what am I gonna focus on? This was my focus. Without I couldn't figure out what I wanted to focus on. And I was like, God will be God and they'll just bring it up some way, shape, or form. And they brought it up the past couple days when I was sitting in bed with my jacked up eye. So, I don't know that I'm done with whatever other afflictions may come this year. I've been sick more in the past 90 days than I've been in like the past 15 years of my life. Um, and yeah, because there was other stuff I didn't even mention. I've been sick in some way, shape, or form pretty much this whole year. And barely even noticed, quite honestly, because I've been so busy on all the amazing things I've been doing. And the journey has to be the whole journey, not just the bits and pieces that we liked or we miss important things that we really need to see and pay attention to because everything is its own signpost. Everything is directing us somewhere. And so we can't pay attention to everything. But when we outright ignore things or pretend that they're not there or that they didn't happen or exist, we miss pretty significant points and information. So I'm stuck in a house for the fourth day in a row. I can't write anything because I can barely even focus. Um, I'm just prayerful that this Easter that we look to celebrate, not that like, oh, I get to go back to eating chocolate or drinking soda or whatever. I'm gonna be honest, whatever lame thing we came up with, because if we can't do the little things for this little bit of time, we're not going to be able to do the bigger things for the greater period of time. Um, this is a practice for life. And I'm prayerful that this Easter, when Christ is risen, when whatever new part of us is risen, that we live that well. And I'm also prayerful going into future seasons of Lent, um, that we practice them for the journey and not just for a sprint to resurrection, because resurrection and transformation are only as powerful as our commitment to the journey have been. Um, we don't create something out of nothing, and we can go to the gym every day and put the weights on on the bar, but when it comes time to do our PRs, if I haven't been lifting, I still have no capacity to lift all that weight. So I'm prayerful going forward that we're faithful. This is a practice of our faith. It's not something that we do and then check off and say, I did this thing for church this year. We're invited into this to help us live in greater relationship and greater life with God and with one another. So, um, Christ will be risen on Easter Sunday. Today is Good Friday. So hopefully we appreciate that for what it means, so we can really appreciate the resurrection and the transformation for what they mean. And they only mean what they mean with the rest of the journey. Blessings, peace, and love to you. I hope to see you clearly or to see you at all in the next several days or months. Love. Bye, friends.